Welcome to the greatness. Marathon had a free trial weekend, and I played for 3 days straight. I want to start this conversation by saying, this is not Concord or Highguard. The foundation is not bad. However, after 3 days of constantly playing this, it was not fun to get to the fun part. It took way too long for the game to finally click. Games are supposed to hook you in the first hour. If someone's not interested by then, they're just gonna move on to something else. There are so many games to play out there. But then extraction shooters arrive and completely derail from the system. The whole design of extraction shooters is punishing. It throws you into the fire, and only soldiers come out. Marathon knows its target audience, and that is something I respect. This game is for hardcore tactical players. There have been many games that try to cater to everybody and ends up being fun for no one. Honestly, if this was a co-op campaign like the original Halos, I would be much more interested. But as an extraction shooter, I just don't get that level of satisfaction, that feeling of fun compared to other games. This game is not for casuals. There's a lot of information. I spent at least an hour reading, going through the user interface, understanding where everything is, what the items do, remembering what they visually look like, so it saves me time when I'm looting. When you do missions, understanding what exactly are you looking for. The only thing that kept me playing the game is the story. You have to complete challenges to unlock the lore, so that was my goal every extraction. The story seems interesting, and I wanted to know more about it. To summarize, this takes place sometime after the year 2360, where humanity wanted to colonize another planet outside the solar system. They had multiple candidates, and Tau Ceti became the designated choice. So the first expedition was sent out by UESC, which control those bots you fight in the world. And something happened to the first colony. Whether it be starvation, an infection, some type of weather anomaly, maybe an alien invasion, who knows. Now we jump to present day, where all these factions are basically gathering information on what happened on the planet the first time, gathering a bunch of resources for research and profit. The players play as mercenaries called runners, who are basically digital consciousness that gets uploaded to these shells, which are the characters that you play during the game. Those characters that you choose, those are synthetics that your mind uploads into to control, each one with their own stats and abilities. So that's the base of the story, and it sounds interesting. I also enjoy the aesthetic and the presentation. Those cinematic reveal trailers are awesome. I'll display one right now. The atmosphere, the futuristic setting, the music, it fits well. The gunplay is clean. Hitting targets, weapon recoil, movement, feels fine. And as you upgrade your character, you can run faster and longer. So those are the things I do like. Now, let's talk about the negatives. When I first started up the game, the mouse did not work. And there was other streamers that had the same issue as well. The only way to pass the intro of the game was to plug in a controller, complete that, and then the mouse will start working. Now when it comes to the user interface, whenever you jump into a game, by default it will show you the type of the item, and you can toggle to show the value of all the items. Now understanding the type of the item is good for beginners, so you know what item is what. But once you know what it is visually, then the value of the item becomes more important to know. And there was no way for me to display the value of the items on default. So I had to constantly hit the toggle every time I jumped into a match, and that was annoying. It would be better if they put the type and the value of the item together. Another thing is, you can't swap loot with items in your backpack. What I mean is, dragging it over a certain item and it'll automatically swap it. Instead, you have to drop an item from your backpack, then pick up the loot. And this is coming from a game where you have to loot quickly, because you can get shot and dropped in an instant. So I don't know if this mechanic is intentional, but that would save a significant amount of seconds. Going back to the aspect of having to know what each item visually looks like, there's still a visual disconnection in the game. For example, the chip mods for the weapons and the implants for your shell, some of them visually look the same, but do different things. So instead of trying to quickly loot, while all the other items you can visually see and know what it does. For implants and chip mods, you actually have to hover over the item to highlight to see what it specifically does. And obviously, that takes up time where you can get shot. Something worth noting is that when you look at all the hardcore style games, when you meet another player, you don't know if they're friend or foe, and that adds a level of tension to the gameplay. That alone creates memorable moments. Especially when you meet a stranger, you end up working together, collecting items, protecting each other's backs, simply surviving together. Those are memorable moments. But in the 3 days that I played Marathon, not once someone was friendly. Every single time it was shoot on sight. From the experience of these 3 days, those memorable moments of finding a stranger that becomes an ally doesn't exist. And understand that Marathon does have proximity chat. Overall, Marathon feels like a good foundation, but in the wrong genre. I would have been much more interested in a co-op campaign in this setting. And yes, I'm aware that Marathon is an old game from back in the day. Let me know in the comments, what were your first thoughts when you saw Marathon? And if you played it, how do you feel about it now? Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and until next time, peace.